Hello, and welcome again to Awaken the Inner Warrior with Marshall. And this is episode 6 of Awaken Your Inner Warrior with Marshall. And today we have a very special guest, Jaime Freeman, and I will discuss the Marshall path to personal development. And Jaime has been here for about 10 years and is a black belt in Taekwondo, 4th degree, I believe. And she'll be sharing with us some of the warrior mindset for her kids' classes and adult classes, and the definition of that, which is obviously what we are really interested doing. So if you want to learn about the core values cultivated by martial arts training, improve leadership skills and improve self-confidence so you can learn how to develop a warrior mindset, tune in now. And we'll discover also the Amazon mindset, because as a woman warrior, we call that the Amazon. So Jaime, let's start with your definition of a warrior mindset.
Right. So what I've discovered over the years is that when we talk about warrior mindset, oftentimes people outside of the martial arts community, they want to think of warrior and fighter as an interchangeable term. And it's not. People get into martial arts to fight. Yes, there's a great industry behind that. But I can say that at Martial Arts Academy, that's not our goal. It wasn't my goal when I sought out martial arts 20 years ago. To me, a warrior mindset is about facing every challenge in life with discipline, with confidence and self-esteem. What I tell my students constantly is it's discipline over motivation in every aspect. Discipline over motivation in every aspect of your life. We approach our personal relationships with discipline. We approach our healthy habits with discipline. We approach our jobs and other responsibilities with discipline. And the more that we do that, the more it becomes a habit of just doing what needs to be done without stopping to give yourself room for, well, I just don't feel like that today. Or if only the weather was better, if only that person liked me more, if only I had more opportunity, right? A warrior makes opportunities.
So no procrastination.
No procrastination.
It's there to be done.
Just get through it and do it as much as you can.
Absolutely.
Good. And how do you develop that in the dojo? So when they first join, do you give a little speech? Or
What I've learned, especially from working with kids, is that if you talk, they don't listen.
Right.
So we try to do as much teaching through movement. So when you walk into our class, it doesn't matter who's teaching, it doesn't matter what day it is, the structure of the class is the same all the time.
Okay.
We bow to the mat, we say our oath, we stand in a certain way, we interact with our partners in a certain way.
Right.
And all of that, without ever saying the word discipline, is building
So it's
this
instilling
idea
it into
of
them
discipline.
already as well,
Yes.
from the first lesson.
And why do you say discipline over motivation? Just more
Because
important.
if you have discipline in your life, it means that you will move forward to achieve what you want to do. You will get the mundane task list done. You will go to train even if you wake up not feeling it. Or I mean, how often are you 100% healthy, 100% ready, 100% excited about doing something? Yet life goes on.
So it's about mood. So whatever mood you're in, you just go there. Whereas motivation is more like, you're in a good mood and you want to do it anyway. Fully, like, as we said to Tony Robbins, energy, and you just go for it. But discipline means when you just don't want to get out of bed at all. Okay, good. And so this warrior mindset as well, because at Marshall, we're trying to redefine it as well, that it's more you against you, of course.
Absolutely.
And victory over yourself. And I read somewhere in the Shaolin stuff that they said we discipline ourselves so we can be freer, not less free. And it's quite a nice quote, because you think it's all restricting and you think, you're losing your freedom because of discipline. But in actual fact, the more disciplined you are, the freer you get to live. Anyway, would you go along with that?
I would. I feel like the more discipline you have in life, the less decisions you have to make as you go through your day. Right. If we have discipline in our moral code and the way we feel about things, it's never a question of how we're going to react in a situation or what should I do if this happens. If we have discipline in our training habits, it's not a question of,
Mhm.
oh, let's see how I feel in the morning and then I'll decide.
Yeah.
If we have discipline in our interpersonal relationships, we understand where our lines are, where our boundaries are,
Yeah.
and that it's not that it's not a struggle, but it's less of a struggle to make decisions.
Yeah.
So I agree 100%.
Yeah,
The less
yeah.
decisions we have to make throughout a day, the freer that we are.
Almost like the Mushin, no mind.
You're just doing things without analyzing it too
Right.
much. And so, okay, good. So, and what about the Amazon? Do you feel as a woman instructor, as a sensei, you have to be kind of 2 times harder, or an Amazon, not a warrior?
There are 2 sides to that coin, because I do think oftentimes when people walk into the studio for the first time and they see me running a class, whether they say it or not, there's a little bit of a, oh, this is not maybe the traditional way that I expected this to be, or especially we talked about my name. It's very neutral, right?
Yeah.
If they haven't been on the website and seen my face plastered
then
on
they
the
wouldn't-
website, they wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's objective.
Right. But luckily, I haven't faced a lot of direct struggle with being a woman in the martial arts industry. And I think to the contrary, it almost opens up the path, lowers the barrier to starting for a lot of people.
Yeah,
Is not to get stuck in gender stereotypes, but
Sure.
I bring a community building ability. I bring a caring. I bring a desire to see my students thrive.
Yeah, this
and
is it. This is the
not that
fostering.
male instructors can't do that,
Right.
but I think that the things that make me different as a woman bring only positivity
more of a
into the
community.
environment
exactly.
of my academy.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to get onto about this community, that you're almost raising them as a parent, and then when they leave the dojo, they should have this discipline, this motivation, and the values outside. And do you think it's possible to do that in the community, or do you think it's very ambitious and very optimistic?
I think it's absolutely possible.
Good.
I think that parenting alone, even as parents, even as like 2 parents, it's overwhelming. Right? We're co-parenting with teachers, with coaches, with instructors all the time, and I think that's how it should be. My husband talks all the time about how he never listened to his dad when he was a teenager, but he had an American football coach who he would die if he thought he wasn't making him proud or doing what he wanted him to do, sort of thing. So I think having other mentors as children is very important.
Yeah.
And as much as I'd like to take credit for it, it's been around for way longer than I've been around. Martial arts was built for this.
Yes, exactly.
It was built for this. From the moment you walk in, you might have to overcome your shy demeanor to be able to come into an unknown environment, to be able to say the oath with a confident voice, to be able to say yes ma'am without delay, to be able
it's
to
another teacher, isn't it? Sensei means teacher.
So you've got your school teachers, then you've got the other teacher. I know one sensei in England, and he looks at the school reports of every child. So whenever they finish the term, the semester, they come in, he has to read it. He doesn't comment, but he has to read it. So they want to impress him as well.
Yes.
So you're part of that ideal in a way.
I think so. Yeah. And you overcome challenges through either difficult techniques. Goal setting is built into the martial arts program with the belts advancement, that sort of thing. And then we get in the older they get, the more we get into leadership skills and that sort of thing. I mean, it's like martial arts was this mold already set, where if we can just keep them having fun and engaged in the community and reaching those goals every few months or whatever, we're teaching them all the skills that they need to then go out and be productive members of society.
Perfect. And why Taekwondo? What's advantages and disadvantages of your traditional martial art?
Why Taekwondo for myself was completely accidental.
Yeah, sometimes this happens.
Right. I was working one night a week at a fitness gym because they gave me the membership for free.
Right.
And who ended up being my instructor was renting an aerobics studio twice a week for the class. So for a month, I walked by. Finally got brave enough to join a class. Wow. And I was hooked. I mean, who's to say that if it had happened to be judo or karate or aikido, maybe I just needed martial arts in my life, and Taekwondo was what it ended up being.
It was the right time,
Yeah.
And what do you really like about it?
I like that it's full body.
Mhm,
Full body.
mhm,
Taekwondo
mhm,
is well
mhm.
known for its
Conditioning
full
and,
range of kicks.
Yes.
So we're working upper body, lower body. A lot of the drills are really well suited for conditioning and building fitness.
Yeah.
So but then it's also very much about the art.
Exactly.
We have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
range of forms that get more and more
Yeah.
complex as you go forward, and you get to really appreciate the beauty of a technique
Yeah, yeah.
and the mindset of
So you
being
do
able
the
to
breakdown as
flow.
well.
You do the kata breakdown as well, and application, and yeah, you analyze it like the bunkai a little bit. This stuff.
A little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
we try
Not
to
too
make the art and the reality
Mhm.
meet
Yeah.
at some
Somehow
point.
merge.
Especially
Yeah.
adults want to know that it's not
Of
just
course.
about looking pretty, that there's some
Yes.
practical application, that sort of thing. The students just get really excited about
Yeah,
learning
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
kids get excited about learning the next segment and the next segment and the next
Yeah.
segment.
So are you
it
quite
builds.
strict?
Um, Yes and no. Yes
Right,
and no.
right.
We with our beginners, we are less strict. We want them
Mhm,
to
mhm,
understand the
mhm.
structure. We want them to be
Align.
moving along with the
Mhm.
discipline of the class, starting to engage with the community.
Yeah.
As we get more advanced, I get much more strict
Yeah, I see.
because
Yeah.
it's not only for myself, but it's for the student that
Mm-hmm.
you get to a point where you have to believe that your rank means something.
I see. Right. So they
Right?
have to be worthy of it. They have to
Yes.
prove that they're worth that level as
And
well.
it's not proving it to me, it's proving it to themselves.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So we try to make the exams as ceremonial as
Mhm,
possible,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
The further
The
along
ritual,
you get,
so
the
the
more
rituals,
ritual it
yeah,
is.
that's exactly
Yeah, I think this is one of the best things about traditional martial arts. They have the rituals there that people take seriously, and then when they take them really seriously, it's different to just doing self-defense. So I always like both things. I've never been someone who just says, right, just do only self-defense or only traditional. They have the benefits,
Yes.
both of them. So I like rituals as well. Good. And the healthy self-esteem for kids. How do you develop that?
So we define self-esteem as confidence, positive attitude, self-awareness,
Right.
accountability. These are the
Uh-huh.
4 pillars that we try to get the students to really understand.
Okay.
So how do we build confidence? Through constantly challenging ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
And this isn't just about kids. This is about my adult students oftentimes need more help building the self-esteem than
Yeah,
kids
definitely.
Definitely, because they've been through a few more years where they had it knocked.
do. Right, right,
They've got to build it back up again.
right. And
Right.
even for myself personally, if I am not currently challenging myself with something, I feel deflated a bit.
yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that confidence comes from constantly challenging yourself.
Okay.
And we do that with a positive attitude, and we're aware of how we interact with others and how we can have effect on their self-esteem.
Yeah.
And then the accountability part is huge because
Right.
at some
tell us about
point,
that.
a student, a person has to understand that their success is in their own hands.
Yeah. Okay. So they're accountable to themselves, and they just check with themselves on a regular
Yes.
basis. Are they
Yeah.
honestly progressing? Or...
Right.
Okay, good. And so, we talk about this fostering discipline in kids and the child's character. Do you think you've really influenced 2 or 3 kids that you're really proud of?
Yes.
I guess.
I mean, I
yeah.
hope I've influenced more than 2 or 3 over
Sure.
this time, but there are a few that I can think of
Yeah.
who started with me when they were
Mhm.
one in particular. I can think of. He started with me when he was 9, I
9.
think, and now he's at university in the
Wow,
U.S. and
perfect.
I got to write one of his recommendation letters, and
It's a
he
real
went through
success.
our instructor development program,
Also. Mhm.
learning those leadership skills and confidence, public speaking, all of those things. And he had very many of those traits
Yes.
that would make him successful anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't want to take credit where credit is not
No,
due.
but you were the last
But
10%.
But to
putting
be
it
able
in.
to see him develop, and then there's other kids coming through my program
Yeah,
now
so-
that it's a pleasure to see their growth. It's almost like a proud mother,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm getting. And
From you about certainly paternal or maternal instinct is definitely there with all of them. And any failures or any obstacles that you said, well, like when you first became sensei, how was the first few months? Like you're the teacher, because sometimes I think who the hell am I to teach this?
Absolutely.
Did you have an imposter syndrome?
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell us about that.
I mean, moving to Prague put a whole wrench in what I thought life was going to look like.
Yeah.
I was already a certified instructor, but I had done that only for the love of the art.
Mhm.
I understood that there was another layer that I
Yeah.
could learn if I dedicated myself to the instructor
Mhm,
development program.
Right.
I never imagined that I would actually teach, and I
Yeah.
really never imagined that I would have a school.
This is it's an incredible thing to imagine. Yeah, actually teaching the martial arts in any way, you know.
Right.
And I've only done it a few times where I'm teaching a little bit of this, you know, of self-defense. And he said, yes, it's kind of strange feeling as well. You know, and you've got such a responsibility, and you really can't teach anything that's not been tested or not, you know, field tested. You really have to be very careful about every word you say.
Right.
for
It
this.
feels that way.
So how did
Yeah.
you get over that? Just kept going.
It just kept going. And there are some students, like the gentleman I mentioned who's now at university, he was there in the first year. And
Right.
I've said to him many times over the years,
It's really a miracle.
we are where we are because I
How else
I
are you
felt
gonna
like
do
I
it?
was making it up as I went along at
Sure, of
first.
Of course.
And
But
then,
in some ways you are, and in some ways you're not, because you know what you're talking about, but you're still sort of improvising every moment. So,
yes.
and then, so what happens after a year or two? You just settle, or
Well,
or
the
what
great
happens
thing
here?
about the organization that I'm involved with is that they are always available for
Oh, you
mentoring.
got
So
the
quickly
backup.
after I started teaching, I was introduced to my current mentor who works out of Portugal. And he came to Prague and he watched some of my classes and he started sort of developing my true like sort of class management and instruction skills.
Right.
And then ever since then we have events in Europe where all the instructors get together and do sort of instructor development,
Oh, so you got a
continuing
lot of backup
education.
and support.
Yes,
so you
yes.
feel safe with, with
Right.
those guys as well.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff.
And even today, we have a WhatsApp group where, I'm having such a hard time with the trajectory of the hook kick. Can you tell me some drills for how to help my students with this or something?
Out or something
Right.
like that,
Yeah. And it's without that.
Right.
I mean, I've developed leaps and bounds in the last 5 years as an instructor to a point where today I can say, I am a great instructor
fully
and
legitimate.
I am excited to make others like me. And 5 years ago,
Got
I
it,
would have said, don't ask me.
So it is
Don't
possible.
make me get in front of the camera.
So it is
Don't-
possible. It is possible to become a sensei. Or
Yes.
And what's the best thing about it for you? Is it that you're that you're teaching, or is it that you're respected, or is it that you just great passion to transmit your skills?
That's a hard question because I can tell you there's nothing like the feeling after a successful class.
Okay. Yeah.
Just that feeling of
pride, in a
the
sense.
students got it. The energy was great.
Yeah.
I was able to throw in
Vibes.
a couple sprinkles of life skills and deeper meaning. And people leave sweaty and smiling. And that's always, we say we sweat, we learn something new, and we have fun in every class.
Brilliant. Okay.
Right.
Right.
I can't in all honesty say that I don't enjoy the respect. There is something
course. Yeah,
about
of
walking
course.
in as the highest
Yeah,
rank and everybody
Sure.
respecting that.
Yeah.
But honestly, for me, that is at the bottom of the list. It is just such a passion for me, and I've seen how it's changed my life. And the more that I can get that out to other people, it just feels like I'm doing what I love and people are receiving it well.
Yeah,
and
that's
what more could I ask
exactly
for?
the same with coaching. It's something
Inside you transmit it to them. They get the same feeling and the same emotion, and they're walking out with that emotion that you had in you before, and then it's transmitted. This is what I like the best about coaching.
Yeah.
But you have to start with a certain feeling.
Yes.
If you don't start with that certain feeling, you can't possibly transmit it. So there's a lot of connection and transmission going on. And I always say, if I can't connect with the person, because sometimes there are some students you just
Right.
can't
Sometimes you
connect
can't.
with,
Yeah.
then I just reflect. So I go from connection to reflection. So I'm just there like a mirror, so try again. And I'm not trying to connect anymore. I don't know if you have that experience where you're just standing in front of them and they're just solving it themselves and you're just waiting.
It happens sometimes. Yeah. You're not going to be able to connect with everybody.
No, that's
and that kind
exactly
of goes
right.
back to your last question of any failures.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is a learning process, right? And there are definitely students who have left that I think about that, if we could have just gotten past that one hurdle, or if we could have had just that little bit more of buy-in, like how much this could have helped them. But at the end of the day, we don't have that choice
Yeah.
for them.
And
Right?
is there any big philosophy in Taekwondo about, like you talked about the deeper stuff? And what's the Taekwondo philosophy, would you say?
It's hard to say overarching because there are
Yeah.
so many styles and federations and different
Well, yeah, these
organizations in Taekwondo.
Politics as well.
Right. For our specific organization, we try to interweave the life skill portion. We have communication, belief, self-esteem, honesty, discipline, and
You've got all the tenants.
yes.
as
So
well,
we
yeah.
go through
So
every
I guess
test.
these are all on your wall
They
as
are.
well.
They're
They
on the
must
wall.
be, yeah, because otherwise.
Yeah. And every testing cycle has a theme.
Okay.
So that the students, they're not only learning the physical skills, but like if you walked into my beginner kids class and you asked them, what's the first pillar of self-esteem? They would all say,
Oh, they know it.
confidence.
Right, good.
Second one, positive attitude, right?
So it's just like a normal
And
class, yeah.
So we're trying to build that in, and that's not overarching in Taekwondo. I think that's somewhat specific to how we teach.
Okay. So it's your school.
I think that's what
ethic.
makes us valuable within
Yeah.
the martial arts community. What makes us different.
Yeah. So we're just getting onto that. Yeah. When you see this warrior leaving the dojo and then they're 2 foot taller or just more confident, their chin is up, like you said, and they take control of their relationships, they take control of their life. They center. And you've seen this happen a dozen times and many times where they get to another level of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
It happens in very small increments very often, but you start to develop an eye for the changes as they're happening. And then you can reflect that back to them. And sometimes that's the most powerful thing because oftentimes the student hasn't realized it yet.
Yeah.
That their demeanor within a training or with others is changing. And when you can say, wow, I'm really noticing that you're holding yourself with more
Confidence,
Yeah, they
you're
start to
interacting with your
align.
partner, then suddenly they're like, oh.
Yeah, this alignment, you see,
am.
when people are aligned, you can really see it, how they look 10 times more confident. When they're misaligned and they're doing all this sort of language, but when they're absolutely aligned, you can totally see it. So yeah, I get it. What about when we talk about leadership and cultivating leadership skills? Do you have a course for that, or do you do it? You do, yeah.
So it's 2 parts in our school. We try to build leaders within each class with students who are confident with a technique. We highlight them or we let them lead a drill.
I see.
We sometimes ask for students to count. We ask them to interact with their partner, giving tips and encouragement.
Right.
Just
So you
that
make little
first steps of
senseis.
ability to even just speak up.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
And then we move into our instructor development where we're really talking more about public speaking, class management, structuring courses and seminars. What makes you the qualities that make you an attractive and interactive and exciting leader or instructor.
Charismatic and a
Right.
little bit
So
Right.
public speaking, you encourage them to do that, or you train it?
Well, I wouldn't say that we train someone to
No.
go speak in front of 200 people, but
Sure.
running a class of 38 to 10-year-olds is
So you're making
is a
little
task in and of
senseis all the
itself,
time.
right?
It's just like these mini senseis you're
a
creating.
bit, yeah.
So one technique or one
Piece of knowledge that they teach that, they lead that for 5 minutes, then 10 minutes.
Or 30 seconds.
30
or,
seconds
You know,
even,
yeah,
yeah,
we
just
have.
to
I mean, we have
jump in.
4-year-olds who, I'll ask who wants to come and count the front kicks for us, and they're like, me, ma'am, and for that 30 seconds, just counting to 10, but counting to 10 in front of a group in a loud and confident voice. It's
Not every 4-year-old
And
can
the
do
parents
that.
come back to you sometimes, or what's your relationship with the parents of the kids?
we want the parents to be involved as much as possible in terms. We love the parents to watch the kids' classes because from a purely business development standpoint, as I said, the class is what makes us unique. And so the more the parents can see how the kids act and interact and what we're teaching in a class, the better it is for us. But also, as you mentioned, the sensei that reads the grades and things like that, we want parents to be able to come to us and say, the respect they show in class is not what's happening at home.
Yes.
Right. And
Indeed,
we can talk about that, and we can even make it a requirement for their exam, that sort of thing. Like, I need a better report from mom and dad about how you're doing at bedtime or something like that.
Yeah, but that guy in England, he was very
Big on that. He absolutely, insisted on, I want to see your school report every semester. So so the community thing is huge about this, and you're the owner of this martial arts academy. You called it the martial arts academy, not Taekwondo academy this way. And you're doing a little bit of Krav Maga.
Yes. Yeah.
Thrown in there, sprinkled
Right.
in there.
We have a course for teens and adults of Krav Maga. This is a newer passion of mine.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
I discovered my association was offering, or does continue to offer, this Warrior Krav Maga program. And it's specifically high intensity, a lot of fitness based stuff,
Also, yeah.
but it's all based in techniques of Krav Maga.
Oh, okay.
And I went and took the certification, and I loved it. I loved it. It filled in all of the gaps.
Yes, indeed.
For as much as I love Taekwondo, it's oftentimes a stretch to explain to a student how this particular thing is going to be a practical application for self-defense.
Yeah.
Sometimes the answer is just, it's not. Appreciate the art, appreciate the journey of it. Right?
Yeah.
So Krav really brought in the missing piece for me. And as I started to get more confident with it myself, offering seminars, like self-defense seminars for women, for all genders, I realized how just a very small dose of training, a very small dose of belief in your own capability can change a person's outlook completely. You talked about how people carry themselves, right? I've literally had women walk into my studio for a self-defense seminar who looked at the ground while they introduced themselves.
Yeah, this is a common problem. And the first time, exactly. So, hi, I shouldn't be here, but I'm here.
Right, and we do a circle to introduce, and they're talking like this, right?
Little mice.
And then by the end of the class, they're not changed completely, but their shoulders are back, their head is high, they're coming up and looking me in the eye, thanking me for the seminar. And this is why I do this, right? And they maybe took away one principle.
And it's enough for that first lesson, exactly. So the traditional martial arts, you're a big fan of, but you also see the complements that need to be filled in as well. Yeah, this is what they always say, that that some of the best martial arts instructors, they have a traditional background and they've changed it and adapted it for self-defense. What are your views on self-defense generally, and the like common attacks, things like the 10 most common attacks?
Oh my goodness. I wouldn't even begin to guess. The main tenet of our self-defense program is awareness. Thinking the problem through, avoidance, de-escalation. We teach Krav for teenagers sometimes in schools and things like that. And the first question, within 2 minutes, I can almost even guess who's going to ask me. But I told you this before we started recording. How many fights have you gotten into?
Yeah, the classic question.
It's just it's the classic question. And I proudly say none. Because there is not a reason. Most of the time, there's not a reason. There's always the surprise attack. There's always someone, determined for whatever reason. But awareness, avoidance, de-escalation.
So the ego, you try to train them, keep your ego down. Don't get into fights, don't get into arguments, and just
right.
You don't have to win everything that you take part in.
Exactly.
Walking away. What's that? The fight you didn't get into is the fight you always win.
The art of war, I believe.
Right.
Yes, the art of war.
But you like self-defense generally?
Absolutely. I think that I think you should have one or two tenets of self-defense. I think it adds a bit to your freedom.
Yeah, if curriculum as well. And you've got a traditional curriculum, and you throw that in as well, and you say we're going to do an hour of common attacks based on Taekwondo, but adapted for the street and these things. Good. And do you do a lot of meditation, things like that?
We don't.
Not at your club, yeah?
No. This is one part that we don't. And maybe it came from my instructor. He would always call it that woo-woo stuff.
The woo-woo stuff.
And I never grew up like growing up in the martial arts. I didn't have that.
And what about now? Is it more interesting now?
It's more interesting now. It's something that I've tried in my personal life.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at it. Meditation and me don't get on very well.
So you prefer the moving meditation?
Yes.
The so-called
for me, it's meditative to hit a heavy bag for 10 minutes, and I feel much better.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what they also used to teach in the Shaolin Temple. They said the guys that couldn't keep still, hit the bags and run around. This is your meditation. Or clean the floor or do something else. They weren't all sitting like that. They did say move, and that suits you.
Right.
So no problem.
I think again, it's if you choose to have that mindset, you can find it.
Yeah.
In my adult classes, particularly, we talk about when we bow, when we say the oath, it's that switch in our brains that
Yeah,
says
the
whatever
ritual.
happened outside or is happening outside of these four walls
Right.
is left outside the door.
Yeah.
This time is just for you.
Mhm, mhm.
And that in and of itself, even though we're running around and we're hitting things and we're working with partners, and
Yeah,
that in and of
concentration.
itself can be meditative.
Definitely.
Right? Just to be able to shrug off whatever's happening.
Oh yeah, for an
in
hour and
life
a
at the
half and
moment.
focus and not worry about no distractions and this
Right.
stuff. And breathing, is it part of it?
And so we teach from our very youngest, they're very excited to yell. So we
Yes.
have to differentiate. It's not just about yelling,
Yeah,
screaming, whatever.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
the reminder of the breath and how important it is.
Mhm, mhm.
When we
Explosive
yell,
power.
it means we have to breathe in first in
Yes.
order to then breathe out in
Right.
that strong
Yeah,
yell. It helps with the muscle tension at the right moment.
Yeah,
It helps
cool.
with the remembering.
And the
to
yin, yeah, the
breathe.
yin and yang, really.
And explode
Mhm.
with the yang. So
Yeah.
yeah, and this is also a metaphor for life as well. When you've got to take things in and then get it out explosively. So a little bit of breathing as well.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then the leadership skills of this way, and the personal development, as we said, some of the stuff about the like coaching, as you say, you had this guy who was a Tony Robbins enthusiast, and what did he add?
For me,
Or
the biggest thing was the idea of we have a choice in the stories that we tell each other, ourselves,
Oh, yeah,
and each
yeah,
other.
yeah, the
but
story is-
specifically the story that you tell yourself.
Definitely.
And this goes back to kind of discipline and motivation, right?
Yeah.
You can tell yourself a story to justify any action,
Mhm,
basically.
mhm. Yeah.
or you can justify your actions based on, the story you told yourself about your childhood or how you got to the place that you are now.
Yeah.
And the idea that you have control over that.
Yeah.
Or to put it in better terms, I had control of that. That
Yeah.
was a very, very powerful thing for me because I realized a lot of sort of negative things that I had just brought through as
No,
givens.
yeah,
Well, I'm never going to be this because of that thing
Yep.
that happened, and I can't do this because of that
They're
thing
all
that
the
happened.
limiting
And-
beliefs, and they all come up,
Right.
and you never question them. It's just like, that's the way it is. I'll never be like that. I'll never do that. Yeah. So state, story, strategy. This is one of his big things, but also for the martial arts, because the story you tell yourself in martial arts could be something like, I'm extremely limited physically, so I'll only get to, I'll never be a black belt. A lot of people have this limiting belief. Or they say, when I'm a black belt, they just leave and they just say, oh, I'm done now because I can't possibly, I've achieved something, so I'm going.
Right.
Have you found that? in some
Yes,
students?
yes. Particularly with our adult students, they come in with so many reasons why they can't.
Yes.
I'm 30 and I've never done this before.
Yeah. Can I do this? I'm too old.
I'm dealing with an ongoing knee issue or
Yeah.
this or that. There's almost nothing we can't work around.
Right. I'm
Right,
too busy.
and-
I can only attend once a week.
Right,
or really
right.
10 times a week. Or what?
Yes.
How many hours do you need?
Right.
So you make it doable. You
We make it
realistic.
doable. We try to, lower the barrier to joining as
Yeah.
much as possible.
Uh-huh.
And then in terms of the black belts leaving, I'm just coming in now with year 5 of the school.
Yeah,
Created a couple of
5
black
years.
belts. A lot of them started young, and
Uh-huh.
so there's the things that I can't control. Like they're going to university, they're doing
sure.
other life things, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. But we teach that the black belt is like the end of chapter 1
Good. Yeah.
of
yeah,
the story,
it's just-
right? And there's
yeah.
so much
Yeah,
more to
yeah,
go,
yeah.
and that's been my experience 1,000%.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful achievement to
Yeah.
get that first degree black belt, but the time, if you just look at the timeline
yeah,
of
the
it,
effort, yeah.
I got my first black belt within about 3.5 years,
Ah,
and now I'm at year 19
right.
of training, and I've only gotten 3 more ranks since then.
And then how do you rate those other ranks, these dans? Is it more teaching, you would say? Is it more like mastery level, is more teacher level?
In our association, to get to 4th degree black belt, you must also be an instructor.
I see.
Because
right.
so much of our philosophy is that we gain the knowledge to pass on the knowledge.
Yes. Okay.
And then up until that, it's about dedication and time
Yeah.
in training.
Right.
And typically what happens is you'll find that once you get past 1st or 2nd degree, those people are naturally starting to be part of the teaching team because they're they're helping out in classes or they're sticking around more.
Well, I think a grandmaster just means the great teacher. It just means the person who's like kind of like the grandfather who was bringing up everyone. So yeah, for me, a grandmaster, it's not necessarily about technique or anything. It's just that attitude of nurturing tons and tons of people below him.
Right.
And he's or she's happy with that amount of people. they can bring out, like a tree, So yeah, Grandmaster doesn't have to be about only ability or talent. It's definitely about teaching mindset.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Passing on the knowledge for sure.
So Taekwondo, and then personal development. Let's just end with something about the personal development as you try to wake up this warrior in the people. I mean, because do you believe it's in everybody or it's not? It's in some people.
It's a very
I feel
challenging
like the
question.
politically correct answer would be that everyone has a warrior within.
Right.
I've had the experience to tell you that I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
There are people who are going to do just fine in life.
Yeah.
And not have the same sort of outlook or the same kind of
Yeah, without being so assertive or something.
right. And they're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a different way.
They might, I mean, I would argue that they're maybe not discovering the full potential of what life would have to offer them, but
Sure.
But
I think they do it in
people
a
make
different
those
way.
choices. Yeah.
I think they go
Right.
a different way. The people that you wouldn't say, he or she has some sort of warrior inside them. For me, they tend to be even more like empathetic or more spiritual. So you can develop that side and just say, these people might become priests, or these people might become, teachers or coaches as well, without being, so dominant.
Right.
They might not need to be, a winner in business or a winner on the mat, or in the sport competition.
Right.
But they might just be a person who's like a counselor or
Right.
psychologist or psychiatrist,
Right.
and they'll go a different way, and they hate conflict. But
right.
You
But
know what
I
I
think
mean?
also this is where the warrior idea sometimes gets confused.
Good.
Because I think you can have a very warrior style mindset
Mm-hmm.
and not be the most successful, the most
Yeah.
aggressive, the most outspoken, I would say that I'm none of those things.
Right.
But I would say that my mental toughness, my ability to
Yeah,
challenge myself,
resilience
to get
and,
through life,
yeah.
that I am 1,000%
Uh-huh.
have that warrior mindset.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be the first person to speak up in a group. I'm
It's
definitely not the
necessary.
most successful martial arts school owner. I know.
Right.
So I think that what that looks like is different for everyone.
Good.
And
Yeah,
if you want to be a titan of industry, warrior mindset is definitely going to help you.
Yeah.
But if you also just want to achieve what's important to you in your life at whatever level that is, the warrior mindset is useful for that as well.
yeah, great. Is there another word than warrior you would use? Are there any synonyms for this? Or
I think we've altered the definition.
Yeah.
Because a
We
warrior,
too,
even
yeah.
as if you look way back into what a warrior was,
That's right.
fighting was one part.
That's right. Yeah.
Typically, they were leaders in their community. They were the ones that sacrificed for the better of the group. They
Yeah.
were the ones who challenged themselves and others for a better life for the community, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
some reason we've taken that fighting part of
Yeah,
it and
the
made
one.
it 90%.
Yeah.
When
Do you
I'm
think
not a historian,
MMA?
but I would argue that it's
No,
maybe
that's true.
10%.
Do you think MMA has something to do with that?
It does.
Yeah,
It does.
I think
Yeah.
It's
I think MMA is great in its own right.
Yeah.
It's not why I got into martial arts, as I said
No.
earlier. But I think very much so.
yeah.
When
it's
you
put the ego back in, and
and now when you say
individualistic.
martial arts,
yes, now people are
That's-
going there. Yeah.
it's the first thing people think of.
Yeah.
I read a great story, or there was a nice YouTube guy, and he was talking about the difference between warriors of ancient times and thugs. And he used the word thug because he said people forget that they're now connecting kind of tattoos and a thug kind of look as a warrior.
Mhm.
And in the old days, these guys used to be beheaded by the warriors
Mhm.
in the community.
Mhm.
They used to be rounded up and said, we can't tolerate this in the schools or the community,
Mhm.
because we have an ordered system. And those guys were just rounded up and sort of executed, whereas now we're looking at sometimes, MMA or these ego guys as they're the alpha,
Right.
They're the
Right.
warriors.
That's the pinnacle
the-
of what a martial artist
Yeah.
should be. And there's
Yeah.
just like with the warrior mindset, it can serve
Yeah.
many different.
So mind, body, spirit,
Mhm.
of course, back to traditional stuff.
Right.
Low ego, determination,
Mhm.
motivation, passion, and as you said, discipline over motivation.
Yes.
That's quite a new one for me. I think it's very interesting because it helps someone focus on what's most important at first. So you've got the pillar there.
Right.
So you say, no, come on, guys, discipline before motivation. Then you can get motivated, but not every day it's going to work.
Absolutely.
But discipline can be 24/7.
Yeah.
So I fully understand that now. Great stuff. So you've defined warrior, and is there a difference between a woman warrior?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. At the
Amazon
core of it, I don't
quality.
think so.
No.
I would say that maybe if we're looking at more stereotypical gender type roles, I would say the woman warrior brings in that sort of lioness
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
ability
protection
to
of her
protect
cubs.
the cubs, the community. And I would say personally, that's a strength that I bring
Yeah,
as an
definitely.
instructor.
And you're also a mother, so
And as a mother as
kinda
well.
helps.
Yes. But that the idea that we aren't just a hobby. It's not just somewhere where you spend a couple nights a
Right.
week. We
Yeah.
are
You care about
building
them as
this
well. Yeah.
community where I care for the students, our instructors care for the students care for each other. And we become a bit like, a tribe, a pack,
And I think it's great that you started at school, because this really leads on to me totally logically, because I believe martial arts should be part of the curriculum in most schools anyway. It's hard to implement, in the States or in Britain, but why? I mean, in Japan, it's part of the curriculum, so why not? So I can see, and maybe do you think that would be the future?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope so. Specifically, as we're talking more and more about empowerment for women and for children in general, I already know many states in the U.S. that are starting to make some kind of self-defense curriculum a requirement at a certain point in the school journey. There are several countries, I can't list them all now, but I know several countries where it is a part of the curriculum from like junior high as their physical education. They're doing more self-defense related martial arts, but it's there. And I think it could only be beneficial to every child everywhere, if I'm talking.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think you're doing a fantastic job for the community. Please continue and try to build these disciplined warriors, the next generation coming up. And you've got how many nationalities now?
We've got 28 nationalities at the Academy now. It's
so it's a global movement.
It definitely is. A global movement started in Prague 7.
Yeah, okay. You've got to start somewhere. Holešovice. For those of you who don't know, Holešovice is in Prague, but
she's starting a global movement from the Czech Republic. So great stuff. So let's just say you can improve your results with personal development through martial arts at martial.com as well. And personal development through martial arts links for Jaime, the martial arts academy.cz. We'll put links up later. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks so much for being with us this week. If you have some feedback you'd like to share, please put a note in the comments section below, as usually. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends by using the social media and the buttons you see at the bottom of the post as normal. This is our usual. And don't forget to subscribe to the show to get automatic episode updates for our Awaken Your Inner Warrior with Martial podcast series. This was number 6 with Jaime, so she's lucky number 6. And finally, please take a minute to leave us an honest review and rating. They really help us when it comes to the ranking of the show. And I make it a point to read every single one of them reviews as we go. Last point, please leave a review right now. And thank you for listening. And thanks to Jaime for sharing this community journey. And good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you.